I'm Kat the Farmer. We're on my farm here in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm about to go into my 4th growing season. Still the middle of winter, but it's a perfect time to talk about those first crops of the year and dive into all the details you need to know about growing mosh. So today we're going to talk about mosh. Mosh is a really unique salad green, grows in little florets, and it's super cold hardy. I think it's a fantastic fit on a market garden because you can harvest it in April. You can grow it outside without any protection at a time of year where maybe nothing else can handle that environment. And today I'm going to show you the entire method I use to grow mosh and harvest it and sell it, as well as advocate for why I think you might want to try transplanting it rather than direct seeding it, which is the conventional advice that you'll get in the seed catalog for how to grow mosh. So I started growing mosh a few years back, and I was doing it the conventional way and taking my seeder into a fresh bed in the fall around the first week of September and seeding the mosh into the bed directly. And what I noticed was it was great. It germinated wonderfully and survived the winter and was ready to harvest in April for about 2 weeks before it went to seed. And I think mosh has a tendency to go to seed and go a little wild. So that was the arc of the first time I was growing mosh. But every season since then, I've tried to get more tight with my succession planning and my planting plan in the field. And so first week of September is still a pretty full farm, and I found that something like an experimental crop like mosh, I didn't have the space to plant it in the field at that time, to seed it in the field at that time, and get that April harvest. So that's what led me to seeing if maybe I could transplant it instead. And I've done that for a couple seasons now, and I've found really good success both planting into the field with no protection at all, as well as into the tunnel. So what is mosh as a product? You know, I'm taking this to market and selling it to folks who love salads. It's really a beautiful, delicate rosette type cluster, and it's sort of like a soft and velvety leaf, not like hairy velvety, but buttery, like a butter lettuce, and has notes of corn silk, green bean, and like a little floral note, kind of like a rose. So that's how I describe it to my customers who either knew about mosh before, or maybe they didn't know anything about it and they're trying it for the first time. But people do really love it, and I think having like a seasonal green that's only available for a short window also makes it kind of special and unique too. So it's found a place on my market stand in the early spring. So yes, mosh is really special and unique, but this process of transplanting it is really simple. But I'll walk you through seeding, planting, and harvesting, and we can talk about timing and little details that can help you grow it successfully. So I like to use any sort of small cell plug tray for the mosh. This is a 144 PropTech, but you could do a 128 as well. And I've got my potting soil, and I'll fill this guy up, and we'll show you the seeding method for mosh. Take this over here, and like any tray, you'll need to do a little bit of dibbling. And this will be a tray of vitmosh, or vitmosh. I don't know how to say it. There's a few different kinds of seeds that you can find on the market. I've tried vit and large leaf round mosh, and I really like that large leaf round. It's slightly lighter in color than the Vit, but it made really large rosettes that I liked a lot. So I've done a little bit of both this season. And what I'll do is I'll drop a few seeds in each cell, maybe more if it's older seed or if it has a lower germination rate on the package. But we'll drop these guys in here. The other name for mosh is corn salad, which, I don't know, this kind of looks like corn kernels, or maybe it's just a weed that it was common in a cornfield and so it got that name. I'm not sure which. But you'll go about doing this, and then you'll cover up with a light layer of soil and water them in. This will be about the first week of January as far as timing goes for seeding your transplants in the greenhouse, and they can take 1 to 2 weeks to germinate in the tray, depending on what your winter weather's doing and how climate controlled your greenhouse is. I'm going to have these on the heated greenhouse tables here in the greenhouse, and they'll be set to 68 degrees for bottom heating the tray and keeping them warm in here. And they'll grow in that tray and grow more leaves, become about 1 or 2 inches wide and tall, and then that's how you know they're ready for transplanting. These ones we have in the greenhouse right now are really tiny and just germinated about a week ago. Some are still trying to germinate because there's a little bit of variability on the warmth in this greenhouse too. So the mice have eagerly been waiting for me to start seeding in the greenhouse, and they are quite fond of mosh. And at every stage, they like the seed, they like it just after it germinates, and until it's well established. So it's important to me that I cover my trays until that time to protect them from the mice coming to destroy all these freshly germinated trays in the greenhouse. And I just use these mesh trays to do that. Maybe you have another method, or a good mousetrap is also a great thing to have. But until they have some true leaves coming on, I wouldn't leave them exposed in the evening. But I do take these off in the morning so that they can get sunlight. So the timing for planting is usually going to be the first 2 weeks of March, and the transplants can get set into the field, into your prepared bed, and they don't have to be protected by remed at all because they're that cold hardy. I've even had snow dump on them for a week and then thaw, and the plants were fine and continue to grow. So in my bed, I'll do 5 rows per 40-inch bed, and then 6-inch spacing within the row. So that's the same as I do my lettuce mix, and the little clusters, each of the plugs can go into each of those spots, and it might be 1 plant, it might be 3 plants, that's okay with me. They'll grow throughout that month and then be ready to harvest throughout the month of April, and the timing on the harvest is going to be a little bit different depending on the variety, but also depending on how quick spring is going to warm up in your area, because sometimes it's really fast and comes on warm and quickly, and other times it's very slow and gradual to come out of winter. Then throughout April you'll get to harvest your mosh, and you have a few decisions about how you can harvest. You could harvest the entire rosette right at the soil line so that you're selling the cluster. They'll be a little bit dirtier that way, but you can still do a dunk and then a spin like you would with any salad green, and they'll be okay. Or you could choose to do a leaf harvest where you're cutting the bunch above the growing point and then all the leaves are falling apart. I feel like that's a good option, especially with the larger leaf mosh variety, where there's more leaf matter to get when you harvest in that manner. I can be honest with you, the yield from a mosh harvest is not huge. I think from one 60-foot bed, I got 50 clamshells, which usually hold about 0.2 pounds in each clamshell. So it's not an outrageous harvest, but it's still filling a nice niche in the field when maybe you're not utilizing that space at all otherwise. So I think it's still worth a try on the market garden for that reason. So that's the super simple method for transplanting mosh. I hope you enjoyed watching this and got some useful tips for this super cold hardy, unique, and wonderful green that fills a beautiful niche on the market farm. And I'll see you next time.